found everything that I'd worked for, I'd loved, was like out of reach. I started drinking every single day. Woke up one morning, my eyes were yellow, my skin was yellow. I remember even like putting sunglasses on, trying to hide it. I had gotten to a point where dementia started, and my mom was trying to reach out to me, couldn't get a hold of me, and I kept drinking.
Whew, that hits. What's going on, everybody? That was tonight's guest, Instagram recovery influencer, Jerzey Mike. I'm Daniel Unmanageable, and this is Hard Knox Talks, coming at you from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Treaty Number 6 territory, and the traditional homeland of the Métis people. Let's bring in Mike. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing well. How are you feeling tonight? Yeah, you got to move it the opposite way that you think it is. Yeah, there you go. Don't move it right there. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. How you feeling tonight?
Feeling great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Is there anything that you'd like to say before we jump in tonight?
Thank you for having me on, man. That video you made was intense. It was heavy. I think you did a great job, and I appreciate you, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you saying that. And thank you so much for joining us tonight to, bring some experience and hope to the table. And with that, let's go.
This is Hard Knox Talks.
Okay, before we jump in tonight, I just want to let our viewers and listeners know that tonight's live production is sponsored in part by Prairie Harm Reduction in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. So, Mike, how long have you had a social media presence?
In the way, I'd say in the way that since my story, probably about 2 or 3 months after I started recovering, I started posting videos of myself.
How long's that been now?
That's going on almost 3 years.
It's hard to grow on Instagram, man. Like, yeah, and you're up at around like 40,000 followers?
No, not even. I'm at like maybe almost 16,000 followers.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's still really good. I don't mean to. Sorry, I didn't mean to like step on you like that. I'm sorry.
No. It's Instagram is its own little beast, and TikTok and each platform its own little thing,
Yeah, it's tough. Like, it's tough to grow on Instagram for me, especially. So why did you get started on Instagram? Like, you came into recovery. Was it an outlet for you, or like what motivated you to start like sharing your story?
I'd say like, even in the sense today I take it a little bit more seriously. I'd say in the last year, I've taken it a little bit more seriously in the direction of where I'm trying to go with it. But initially what started it was just in a therapeutic sense, was like, I had just went through this traumatic event in my life, and COVID was also occurring at the same time when I woke up from my coma. And my kids were also being homeschooled. So it was like, in that sense, being at home, they were messing with TikTok. My son was showing me stuff, and I just decided to start like recording myself and posting it for my family and friends to see. And from there, I started thinking in my head that if I didn't survive, if my liver didn't make it, that at least my kids could kind of use my social media, come back to it, and kind of revisit it and see my spirit and see my good spirits and our good spirits through it all. That was the idea.
Sort of a time capsule, so to speak.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Like a nice little time capsule is how it started.
That's beautiful, man. I don't think I'll never look at your social media presence the same, man. That's beautiful. I love that. So why don't we go back to before all this happened? When did this all get started for you? When did your journey with substances start? Was there using and drinking at home growing up?
Yeah, my parents. My mom didn't drink. My dad drank a lot. Um, Everybody in the older people in my family drank a lot. Um, and there was a lot of like drug use through some of my uncles, like heroin, stuff like that. But in my teenage years, I think I experimented like everybody else. I wasn't a big fan of alcohol. I hated the taste of alcohol. I
Mm-hmm.
never really enjoyed uh, the taste of alcohol. But later in life, I lost a cousin of mine that was very close to me, and that was when I really started going deep into coping with alcohol. It
So
was
before we get too far ahead, tell us about like the first. So what was it like the first time? Like, were you said you grew up with like heroin around and stuff? Like, is this things that you saw from a young age?
I never saw the drug usage, but we would see like the aftermath of stuff.
Yeah.
We took a trip to Florida to Disney World, a big family trip, and one of my uncles got sick on that trip from uh, from using, and uh, he was sick. He wasn't doing well. He ended up fatally passing on that trip, on
Uh,
that family trip to Disney, and me, my cousins, my sister, we were all together. It was like it was pretty fucking heavy. This Disney trip that was like this amazing family, beautiful thing, and ended with us burying my uncle.
wow.
Uh, and a couple years later, me and my cousins started to experiment and cope with those things
Mm-hmm.
in a negative way. We all had a lot of aggression. I had a lot of aggression. I just had a lot of shit going on. My dad was never really around, and um, I started to escape, with weed and coke and all of that shit. Like probably freshman year in high school, I started really.
What was it like the first time that you got loaded? Was it like a warm blanket or I mean, some people hate it the first time. What was it like for you?
I didn't like it. I guess I liked it in the sense it was at a party. I felt very socially comfortable. I felt great in that sense. I remember being in end of eighth grade. I was at this girl's party and I felt great. Like I could talk to everybody, but I felt like shit after when I got home. I didn't really like myself. I felt like I did something wrong.
Yeah. And do you
Uh,
think maybe that's because of what you witnessed like with your family and things like that?
yeah, because of what I witnessed and what my
Yeah.
mom used to try to instill in me. She used to always instill in me drinking was bad, doing drugs was bad. I went to a Catholic school
Mhm.
uh, up into eighth grade, and all of that stuff was just heavily, DARE program, all that stuff. Don't do this. It was heavily seeded in me that this was all bad stuff.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Did you graduate?
what from there?
No, from school from high school.
Oh yeah, I graduated from high school. Yeah, I graduated from high school. High school, I used a lot in high school. I did a lot of coke and drank and stuff in high school and did extremely well in school. I did really
Mhm.
good in school. I was able to juggle everything, to party, smoke weed, and do coke and keep my grades up, so my mom would let me still go out and do my thing.
Mm. So you kept your grades up so that you could go out and party?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the deal. If my grades were bad, I couldn't go out.
Uh-huh.
So I had to figure out a way to party and still have good grades so I can
Yeah.
keep that social life going.
A little while ago, we had a guy on, and I forget who it was. They like half of his graduating class did MDMA, and they had like the second highest SAT scores in the nation or something. Who was that?
I'm afraid I can't remember.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when you were in high school, and like you'd mentioned that you'd felt like shit after the fact, but you kept going. Like, did you see yourself going down a darker road, or was it always sort of like, nah, this ain't a problem, I'll just do it this time or this time?
I always saw myself going down a darker road, and I always would kind of choose to go down the darker road. I was very rebellious.
Mm.
I'd always look for problems. I was always looking for shit, you know. And my dad, who wasn't really around, it was just my kind of way to feel masculine at the time. At least that's what I thought, you know. I felt uh, in control. I felt masculine, kind of. Uh,
Were you getting in a lot of
Always looking for
fights?
shit. I got into a lot of fights. A lot of nobody really kind of fucked with me. Nobody really messed with me. It wasn't really like I was fighting all the time. Nobody really bothered me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to say much or do much. People kind of just stayed
Yeah.
away.
So so how did things progress then? I mean, I know you jumped ahead there a little bit, but like how did it come to that? Was it a slow progression to where you forgive me, you said you lost a cousin?
Yeah, when I was older, yup.
Yeah. And is that where things like were things already going sideways for you by then, or was that like a tipping point for you?
Things were already going sideways. Like there was a lot of death in my family, you know, from that Disney story that I told you about that we were younger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Next had come a cousin that had been murdered at a after hours bar, and like there was a lot of I feel like there was a lot of death in my family, and a lot of that made me and this one particular cousin of mine, Mark, who isn't with us, but he passed later.
Mm-hmm.
Me and him were very close growing up. We kind of rebelled together. We we did everything together. We went in the shit together, like as far as all the things we tried and all the ways that we rebelled and I don't know, we were very close, just like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
best fucking friends. And the way that we handled the deaths that were occurring in our family, and kind of like what we felt was a little bit of lack of guidance from our parents, we used, and we
Mm-hmm.
used a lot, you know. We partied a lot. Like that was our thing. We would push the limits with whatever kind of drugs we were doing, or
Mm-hmm.
um
Was
and
there ever,
purpose and no, you know, and knowingly so doing it, you know. Okay, we could die, we didn't give a shit. We
were you
Let's do
trying?
it, let's see. I don't think we were trying. We were trying to have a good time, but if it happened, I don't think we would have cared
Mm-hmm.
at that time.
Yeah. So what now we in the beginning, in the intro there, we saw where this took you. But were there ever any like stints of clarity? Did you ever find sobriety or recovery or whatever you call it for any amounts of time before it came to a crashing halt there?
I did. When my first son was born, I had a year of sobriety that uh, I didn't drink. I had some clarity. I found my spirituality from like my childhood again when he was born. It was good for a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
then uh, I'd say as life kind of went on and I got comfortable, you know. Success came. I did better at work, and money came. And as I got
Mm-hmm.
more comfortable with this, like life that I had built for myself that seemed stable now, I was like, let me drink now. I can do the barbecue thing, and I can do the dad having a beer thing,
In the
and I went
armchair,
back.
kind of. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I went right back into it, and no,
You're not that dad.
it I was a functioning alcoholic for so long. I was a functioning drug addict and alcoholic in high school, and I did amazing,
Mm-hmm.
with my grades. But no, I just always used alcohol to cope. Always, it would be like starting off with a barbecue, and then, of course, I'm drinking the next day, and then the next day, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was just always a fight. It was always a fight. There was never like a easy ride where I was that dad that just has one beer and flips a burger
yeah,
and goes to bed and everything's great. No.
yeah. I could never do that, man. So how did you do it? Like, how though this stint of recovery that you had, your son or your child was born. Did you like? Did you seek any kind of therapy? Did you do meetings? Like, how did you mentioned you found
Uh,
spirituality? How did you come around that?
I went on a religious retreat. It was a cousin of mine was going, and it was a weekend retreat, a Catholic weekend retreat. And she was like, "Do you want to go?" And it was a last minute kind of deal. And everybody in my family was fed up with me, mad at me. Nobody wanted to talk to me. Uh, I was just like, fuck it, I'll go. I agreed. I tried to bring enough alcohol with me to drink during the retreat, and that didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I strapped up like 6 pints of vodka and taped it up to my legs. And I went through that like the first night because I knew they
Oof.
take all your stuff. You can't bring a bag, you can't bring anything. So I brought as much as I could and drank most of it. And then I was really sick the next day. And one of the priests there, this guy Father Nuno, he was a really nice guy. He actually saw me going through withdrawal because I was about to run out of there. I was about to jet out of that retreat the second I ran out of alcohol and I was getting sick. And he pulled me to the side and we talked. We talked for like 5, 6 hours, and he calmed me down and convinced me to stay. And I completed the retreat. And by the time the retreat was done, 2 more days had passed, and a lot of my symptoms had, the worst of them had went away. And I got back home and kind of said in my head, like, okay, I made it these 3 days. I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I rode that wave for about a year and didn't touch alcohol.
Just
And
white
then,
white knuckle, so to speak.
yeah, white knuckles, so to speak. Yeah,
So so how was that? Like, was it? Were you living a fulfilling life? Like, were you feeling good inside, or was it like a constant, like 100 miles an hour in your head?
it was a constant 100 miles an hour in my head still. It was very difficult. I still had a lot of social issues and anxiety issues. I couldn't really, that was one thing that I struggled with a lot. Like I couldn't have people over,
Mm.
or I couldn't host, or I couldn't do these sort of things or go to events. I just had horrible social anxiety.
So you weren't
And
afraid
even
you weren't
that
afraid
year,
you weren't afraid you were going to drink. You were just the anxiety was too much.
yeah, I guess the overwhelming anxiety of like really caring what other people thought of me, like how I am socially, and what kind of person people think of me as, and all these things that used to just eat me up before I'd go anywhere. And alcohol used to take care of that for me and
Yeah.
just kind of put me, strap a seatbelt on and I'd be okay and not deal with those thoughts. And in that year of sobriety that I had, I could never figure out my social anxiety issue. I couldn't deal with it back then.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the reasons why I kind of steered back in the direction of making excuses for myself to go back to drinking.
Yeah. So how long did it take once you 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 pulled the cork out again? How long did it take before things went sideways?
About 8 years.
Wow.
8
You held it
years. 8
held it
years.
together for 8 years.
Yeah, I did. 8 years. My youngest son was 1 when I started to drink again, and then he was turning 9 when I went into my coma, when I
Hmm.
got sick. So, uh, 8 years. And I probably, if it didn't go so south the very last year, uh, maybe could have held it together a little longer, but I'm happy I didn't. I'm happy the way things played out.
Mm-hmm. So rock bottom was a luxury that you managed to attain.
And escape from.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So you mentioned that your family started falling apart when we talked before, and that's when you really got into it. What was it that tipped you over the edge?
so me and the mother of my kids, I think we had issues like most people have, but
Mm-hmm.
we both drank a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And through the years, it kind of was like tag, either she'd be fed up and be like, we got to stop. I would take an initiative. She'd follow. We'd stop. One of us would dip back in. I'd jump back in. It was always like, we're always like just chasing our own tails with this. And we were doing it together for so long. It was tough, and blaming each other and attacking each other. And it was just a battle. It became hell. Our relationship became hell. Life became miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And while the kids were babies, it was easier, I feel like, because, you got these like beautiful, you know, balls of love running around the house. And even though you might be drinking and doing these things, you kind of have this positive thing going on that you could focus on. But kids get older, babies grow, and start to talk shit, and real problems start, and messes happen, and these beautiful things become,
Yeah,
harder to deal with. And
Oh yeah.
it's like,
yeah.
it's not just a bundle of roses. And like it became a lot for us. And I feel like the last couple of years we were scrambling to do anything to save it. I even picked up and moved to Florida to do anything to save it, like change of scenery. Let's do whatever we can do here to try to make this work. Uh, except cutting alcohol out.
Mm-hmm.
Like that wasn't like cutting alcohol out was not like, we tried everything. We moved. We did this. We did couples therapy. We did every turn in the book. But we couldn't commit to just stopping, the both of us. I think at that point we were just too unhappy with ourselves. Too unhappy. I know I was so unhappy with myself at that point.
Yeah.
And the tipping point was when in 2019, that summer, I I found out that I was being cheated on. I found out there was like infidelity happening. And when all of that played out, to me there was like there was no coming back from that. And then it just got dark after that. Things got bad. Everything
Yeah.
went south.
Yeah. So and I can suspect that's when you started having medical problems. You ended up in the hospital. Um, do you remember anything of that experience? Like, tell us what it was like coming out of that. Like when you came to and you realized where you were and you realized what had happened. Like, what was going through your head? Were you like, oh, I need a drink to get through this, or were you like, no, I'm done now?
I was very calm. I didn't need a drink. I didn't need anything. I was very, very calm. I was very thirsty. Thirsty. I was so thirsty. I didn't drink anything. It's like I had sand in my throat, being asleep that whole time. But I woke up in a very peaceful, like, state of bliss. I was uh, It's like I was levitating. I couldn't feel my legs. I was in a, maybe I couldn't feel my legs, you know.
Yeah.
But honestly, like it really felt very, very amazing opening my eyes.
Yeah. So even though you were in that condition, would you say that it had somehow felt like a weight had been lifted off your shoulders? I mean, surely a near death experience like that might put your other sort of worldly problems in perspective. Like, could you agree to that?
Yeah, man. I woke up, I felt lighter than I had ever, lighter than I had felt, and I couldn't even remember probably since a child. It was like it was all out on the table. Everything, you know, my
No more
family was
hiding.
there. No more hiding. No, everything was out. Like there, everything was just there in the open. It felt
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And so much so that, like, you know, I was able to just randomly cry when I felt like it and express that, where I had been holding all that shit in for years and years and years. You know, I wouldn't have cried to anybody before that experience in
Yeah.
the situation I was in, unless I was completely intoxicated. It was just, it was magical. That and yeah, the way I was dying, 270 pounds, physically in the most unhealthy shape I've ever been in my life, but inside my spirit, I felt I felt
Renewed.
angelic, amazing. I felt like I was reborn.
Hmm. And this you're talking about the time where you were still bedladen, you were still, but you were alive. And I mean, that's amazing. I mean, can I show some pictures here? I mean, we've already seen them, but so here's you, and like, it's kind of hard to see, but like, man, we're really glad you're still
Yeah,
here.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that or that.
Mm-hmm. I've got a question coming in here from Chris. Chris, thanks for the question. Chris asks how long you were in a coma for.
Almost 3 weeks. About 3 weeks.
We've got Mikey B. What's going on, Mikey? Thanks for watching tonight. Mikey says, wow, I felt the same way. So what was your first year like in recovery? What did you do different this time that like helped you find the life that you have today?
I went through more problems. I went through a lot of stuff my first uh year after this happened.
Yeah.
Uh Within like 3 months, my eyes turned white and my liver got better. It started to show as like normal function on blood results,
Mm-hmm.
and all of that was amazing. It was great news, and like with my health coming back at that time and my skin going back to normal color, um and everything kind of going back to normal. Now I was kind of dealing with this new life that I had, that I was single now, and rebuilding myself and trying to find myself.
Did
And
the resentment come
10
back?
years, uh towards who?
Well,
Myself?
towards the person that had cheated on you.
No, I wouldn't say that there was, the resentment came back, but it was like where I kind of was at that point. I was like, I feel like I was this little phoenix, but still in the ashes. I didn't get up yet. I was still just like still in the ground, dusting myself off. I was a mess, but I was still like, there's something pretty under here, and I'm gonna figure out what's going on. And I started going on dates and trying to, because I hadn't dated in 10 years. You know, I'd been with one person for 10 years. And now there's dating apps, and now there's like all this stuff I had never known about. And it was all new to me, and now I'm like refacing this new part of my life, healing physically from what alcohol had did to me, and now also walking back into the dating scene, which is heavily, impacted with alcohol and drinking and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, in doing that, after about 4 months of recovering, I went out and I had another drink. I drank. I took a trip with a buddy of mine at that time that I didn't know what was the full deal in the long term with my liver, but I knew at that time, um, it was almost like a bucket list kind of thing. I was like, Joe, let's go, and I'm like, I want to go do this, and he was a little uncomfortable with it at first,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, okay, well, if you want to, I'm gonna go anyways, and he took the trip with me, and for like a couple of months there, I got lost again. I got lost in the sense of a different way, but lost again, where I was out on this dating scene. I was out going to strip clubs. I was out trying to party my way back into kind of finding this character in myself, being single. And I wasn't happy with myself. I had resentment towards myself at that point. I was like, what are you doing right
For
now?
going back into
What
it.
the fuck? Yeah, I was like, what the fuck are you doing right now? Like, really?
Yeah.
Like, uh, you were just in a fucking hospital bed, dead,
Yeah.
4 months ago. What the fuck are you doing right now? Number one. And like, two, do you really need this shit? And it sat with me, and it was like something that I felt like I needed. I needed that, like, retouching that too. I don't know, for me, whether it was getting out of my system or just reassuring myself that that was not what I wanted. Um, I got sick of that shit, and then walked away from it again.
Hmm.
Um, had enough of that summer. Um, so it's still a battle, it's still something that um, it's something that only recently, I'd say last year in July, when my uncle passed, was the last time that I had a drink. I had a drink when he passed away. And up until before that, even on my social media, I used to always kind of explain my sobriety in the sense of, you know, it's something that I do one day at a time, but it's also something I reserve the right in my choice and what I want to do and what I feel like doing, because I'm somebody that I have a huge problem with authority, especially with authority from myself, and this whole manipulation game in our heads that we play sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I recently had another episode, health issue last year after my uncle died, where I needed colon surgery, and I almost fucking died through that shit. That was a really intense surgery. And um, after that experience, I feel like it's the first time in my life where I walked out of that situation being comfortable, um, accepting the authority of feeling comfortable that I don't need or want alcohol.
Hmm.
I don't need to reserve that right anymore like I used to, uh, because I feel comfortable with it now. And it's taken a long time to get there. Even in me almost dying, I didn't walk out of that, saying that. But that's where I'm at now, my headspace.
Yeah. So you mentioned, and you mentioned this on Instagram, even today, I think. So you're engaging with therapy and things now, right? Like
Yeah,
is so.
definitely.
How long has that been going on, and how has it served you? Like how is it? How does it help you get your thoughts right?
I've been doing the therapy for 2 years now, and it it's been helping me as far as um, going through the traumas that I went through. In right after that experience I had in my coma, and then I went out back drinking. I was extremely mentally unstable after that whole experience. I didn't even realize it back then, but walking out of that coma, and then 4 months later going out dating and all of these things, like my head was kind of all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And therapy helped me process all of that and put things into perspective of what happened to me. Kind of slow everything down because everything happened so fast. I almost died so fast. Literally, my eyes turned yellow from one day to the next. Went into a coma 1 month next. Woke up from the coma. 3 months later, I'm out here trying to go dating. 4 months later, I'm out here back at a club. All of this happening like this. And I'm just like, what the fuck has happened in the last year to me?
Mm-hmm.
And, therapy just helped me process everything, put everything on the table, look at everything,
Mm-hmm.
reflect on it, and slow everything down and like, whoa, take a step back, and you're gonna die
Mm-hmm.
again if you don't just fucking if you just keep running. So um
Yeah.
therapy's been great. It's been awesome.
Yeah. So, did you ever have any experience with like AA or anything like that?
Uh n- no, I didn't, and I always like refused it.
Mm-hmm.
uh um my my sister had done AA for years. It was something, like I said, authority. It was like or ego. You can authority, ego, all of those things. Something that wouldn't even allow me to go into those places. I've done AA meetings, since my incident. I've done some. I'm not in them a lot. It's not something that I do all the time for myself, but it's also not something um, that I'm against. I've actually like jumped in from time to time just to hear and experience. Um, one that my friends go through on Sundays. From time to time, I'll jump in and listen when I feel like I can pull something positive out of there.
Yeah, man. So if you could pinpoint one thing, and maybe you can and maybe you can't. So what has been your biggest motivator? Or not motivator. Maybe what has helped you the most? Outside of therapy, when you're living your daily life and maybe your thoughts start going sideways and there's no one else around, like where do you take your mind? Like what helps you the most?
Um, that's and that's tough because like if you look at my track record, I always make bad choices, like the ones that like gotten me to
I
bad
go to the
places.
strip
It's
club.
after I almost died.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and I I know for me, and I don't know about for anybody else, but I know for me, anytime that I've had a drink, or what some call a relapse, something like that, like these things, to me, in my eyes, always, even after what I experienced, try to have grace with myself on. One of the things that almost killed me was how I felt about myself, how negatively how I felt about myself, how much resentment I had towards myself when I was drinking, how ashamed I was of myself, that it got to a point that even after my experience almost dying, I found it to be counterproductive to be harsh on myself if I relapsed. I found it to be just like, this doesn't make sense for me to um, go into this hole and feeling like crap, and restart counting days, and
Mm-hmm.
um all of this intense shit that kind of puts people in a place they can't get out of sometimes when they do relapse. And I feel like those moments are blessings. Your relapses or whatever you want to call them. Even the dark times we go through, these are like blessings. They're there to remind you, reassure you that that's not what you want. And if you have to put your hand by the stove to fucking realize that, like, I'm somebody that has to learn the hard way and experience things myself to learn things. I feel like me having grace to myself and treating myself with mercy, forgiving myself is one of the biggest things that helps in my sobriety, because I'm not carrying a bag of luggage of fucking hate towards myself for things that I do that others might judge as wrong. You know, that's a big one for me that I think
Mm-hmm.
resonates, because people will sometimes tell me like, hey, I drank last week and I feel like shit. It's like, that's fine. Well, guess what? You feel like shit, you're aware, you feel something right. You're feeling
Yeah.
something good. Now
Where,
stop feeling like shit and smile about it.
yeah.
And,
Where's the
and
lesson? Where's the lesson? Yeah.
yeah.
So, just going to take a quick break here. I just want to let our viewers and listeners know that tonight's episode is also brought to you in part by Naranon Groups in Regina, Saskatoon, and Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. To learn more about all our sponsors, check out our upcoming live streams or our recorded audio releases and more. Visit www.hardknockstalks.com. Let's look at some comments. We've got Vic, sorry. Vic, thanks for the comment. And that's a really cute puppy in your picture. Vic says AA is an amazing program, but unfortunately it's not for everyone. With that being said, recovery is always possible, especially after having the awful experiences most of us have been through in our lives, thanks to addiction. What else do we got here? We've got John. John, thanks for the comment. John says, that's what I had to tell myself. I'm going to die if I keep going down this road. So thankfully, the Creator gave me the strength I needed to pick myself up a year ago. And now he has to go to bed. Well, good night, John. So that brings up an interesting point. Do you believe that there's something out there bigger than you that wants good things to happen, that wants to guide you?
I do. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Do you want, what is that? Go ahead.
My my coma reassured that for me. I was like a religious person before my experience, but also a skeptic. I was very, very kind of all over the place. But my coma, yeah, don't get me started on that topic. I'm all over the place with that stuff. Yeah,
Did
100%, I believe.
you meet something in there?
Yeah, I feel like I had a whole ride, a whole experience from the second that I was asleep. Um, Kind of being outside of myself a little bit, roaming through the hospital. I was like
Really?
seeing family members and stuff like that. I was actually even trying to use in this like outside little reality going on while I was asleep, and anything I was drinking or trying to intake wasn't working, and it was very fucking frustrating.
Wow, that's
It was like
incredible.
I was going through the hospital and looking for drugs, looking for alcohol, and what I would find in cups and I would drink would do nothing, and I'd be like breaking glasses and getting upset. It was very repetitive and loopy.
Wow.
Very bugged out.
Yeah. So what did you take away from that then? Like sure, like from what you have explained to us this evening, you see the lessons in things. How do you interpret that? How do you interpret that experience?
um,
I know that's a pretty deep
that
question. I don't know.
that I took it as like that basically. If I didn't accept that wasn't gonna fix my problems, I was gonna stay in that loop I was gonna stay in that kind of loop for a little bit, that limbo of this, like you enter one door and pop out at the same door again, and with the same results and same consequences, and because you don't get the lesson, and you're back again, and you're back at the
Doomed.
bar asking for, and I feel like it was on repeat until I accepted it, and I feel like what I experienced while I was asleep, it was like if I didn't accept it, I wasn't gonna wake up, so to speak, or come back, kind of shit.
Let's see what else we got here. Oh, we have Dana. Dana, thank you for the comment tonight. Dana says, thank you for all your honesty and sharing your truth, although it might not look like what other people might think. Thanks for the comment, Dana. We've got Alicia. I hope I said that right. I always get Alicia and Alicia mixed up, so I apologize if I said that wrong. But Alicia says, I'm really grateful to hear your story. It's definitely an inspiration. I feel like for every addict in recovery that I get the privilege to hear their lived experience, we are less isolated, we are less alone, and all our stories have echoes of each other. Mike, can you relate to that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like that's this whole community is such like a beautiful exchange system, from the people that inspired to the ones that aren't inspired. It just goes back and forth. Anybody that I've ever spoken to that shares their story with me, it's such a beautiful exchange. Like it's crazy how many people I'm friends with that I've never even met.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, and you know,
Like
I've heard that before from creators on Instagram. There is a beautiful recovery community over on Instagram, and like a very engaging one too. So many of the creators, you know, you comment on one of their things, and they could have like so many comments, but they'll respond to you. You know, it's a beautiful thing. So yeah. So you're a dad now.
Yep.
I mean, you were before though too, but like tonight you're like, oh, I can't jump on as soon as I'd like to because the kids and stuff. Tell us about what it's like being a dad in recovery. Oh,
it used to be easier when they were younger, but now
yeah.
yeah, like
Now
when
they're
they're
jerks.
younger,
You
I
can
feel
say it.
like
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. Now they're jerks. There, I said it.
yeah,
There.
yeah, jerks, and they have attitudes, and,
Yeah.
and they, you know, stomp, and it's like they have the ability to like almost like I don't know, they're just, especially my sons, they're like they reflect me when I was younger, so it's like
Yeah.
I want to vomit too at the same time. I'm like,
yeah. Now I know why my dad yelled at me.
yeah, it's like I have to live through those moments every day. You
Yeah.
know?
And you know, and I say I love my son. Of course I love my son. He's a beautiful little boy, and like there's so many great experiences, but I know what you're saying. Like sometimes, you know, like as they get older, they develop this attitude, and then they start talking back, and like we grow right along beside them. Like, do you agree?
Yeah, we grow with them, you know,
Yeah,
we grow
man,
with them.
totally.
It's like it's like a time where you know, they're learning one lesson from us, and they're teaching us one at the same time.
You know, I've often said that my son is my greatest teacher, and I've been saying that since he was 3 years old, because he totally is. Like I don't think there's anybody that knows me. Well, maybe Donna knows me that well, but nobody knows me better than my son. You know, he sees me when no one's looking, you know. So definitely it's been the biggest and most rewarding challenge of my life is being present and being a dad, you know. Because I don't know if I don't know what your experience was, but I experienced child apprehension, right? So I was unfit, and they took my son away from us. So to have that back now in my life, plus a daughter now as well. So
I was just going to say, you thought you were out of the woods now that Grady's that little bit older, and then
yeah, here comes Captain Chaos. we have a 4-year-old little girl, very, very full of energy, that one. Yeah.
Right.
Never lonely when Kendra's around. Yeah. So anyways.
Usually pleading for mercy.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you single, Dad?
I am single. Um, and one other thing that I was gonna put out there is that my kids were the ones that helped me in my recovery. They as far as physical recovery, like my liver and stuff, like when I got home, I had to do these IV infusions because they sent me home from the hospital because of COVID. They were scared that I was gonna die in the hospital because of COVID. So they were like, you have to get home and we'll have a nurse come see you a couple times a week. But it was my two younger boys that at the time I was like, wow, this is horrible that they're going through this, that with me. I couldn't even believe that my kids were like taking care of me.
Mm-hmm.
Pads and pee bottles and stuff and changing IVs for me. But it was like it was the most intense bonding experience that I've ever had in having my kids take care of me. Uh, like I was their
Yeah.
kid, bringing stuff, and it was so humbling. It was such an experience that um, I see the positive from it today, even though as
Mm-hmm.
traumatic as and intense as it was for all of us, and I'm sure very much for them. Um,
Was it tough for did it take a while for their defenses to go down? Like after you came out, was there like, we don't know if we can trust you yet, or were you welcomed home right away with open arms?
uh, I was always welcomed right away. They um, in our family structure, I was always closer with my children than their mother,
Mm,
and this whole little period where I was sick and kind of gone, um, they were like kind of not they couldn't wait for me to get back or see if I could get home or uh, whatever the case was at that time.
cool, man.
Um,
So let's look at a couple more comments here, and then we'll let you head out on your way, man. We've got Sober Now. Thanks for the comment. Sober Now. I should know her name, but I don't. Wonderful person though. She says, our kids also see us through a clear lens. I learned so much from mine I'm so grateful to have my children back in my life. But the teenage years, oh boy. Yeah, we're just coming into those now. We'll report back in 5 years. How old are your kids, Mike?
my older son's about to be 12 and my younger one is 9.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Quite an adventure. Oh,
yeah, and
well.
work and sports, by
Mhm,
myself. It's like, uh, and then trying to date. By the time I go to work, I wake up 5 a.m. I get home 4 o'clock, make them some food, basketballs at 6, get
mhm.
back at 8.
No time.
Who's gonna talk to me? Who's gonna talk to me for an hour before I'm ready to,
Yeah, and you're all
do
like
some
on, you're
social
like,
media? Like,
yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like nothing works. Nothing works. I'll be single forever.
Yeah, yeah. We've got Alicia saying kids are always present. It's a great way to stay in grateful and out of a hole model mode. Sorry.
I think I got what you was trying to say.
Yeah, yeah. So kids are the best thing. Same with animals, nature, the kindness and unconditional. And like I talk shit, right? I'm like, oh, kids are jerks, but man, like I'm a jerk. Like
Yeah, me too.
he gets it from me. So
That's what gets me frustrated is when I'll see my older son and be like, I'll see his mannerisms and his attitude, and it reminds me of myself.
yeah, yeah.
And I want to unteach that behavior from him because I already
Hmm.
don't like it about myself, and then that's where boom we clash. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
You know what I've noticed kids are good at though is forgiveness. You know,
Yes.
they'll be mad as hell for a little while, and then like all is forgiven. It's the most miraculous thing.
Yep.
I've learned so much. So, anyways, man, I think we're coming to the end. Is there anything that you'd like to leave us with tonight?
I guess, just for anybody out there that's working on their sobriety, like have mercy and grace on yourself. Just love yourself. That's what we're in this for, is happiness, and to love ourselves. And we can't be too hard on ourselves. So any part of the journey is exactly that, part of the journey. There's no bad parts. Like that's how I like to look at it. There's no wrong parts to the story. Every wrong part is
A lesson.
a part to the is a lesson. So
Yeah.
it's all part of it.
Cool, man. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us tonight, man. I really appreciate you taking the time and jumping on a little early as you could, and getting the kids to bed on time, and sharing your journey with us, man. We appreciate that very much. And yeah, take care for now, my friend. We'll see you again.
You too, brother. Thank you for having me on, man. Thank you for everything. And the video came out awesome, brother. Thank you.
Right on. Thanks, brother. Take care.
Take care, man.
All right. If you're getting something out of what we're doing here, you can find us on all audio platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts, or live and interactive right here on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch TV. Thanks for watching. Take care, my friends.
Say, this is Hard Knox Talks.
Just kidding. We're back. We're spinning the wheel. Look at all those names. All right. Tonight, we are giving away 3 children's books that talk to children. They are wonderful stories by a woman named Laura Lawrence. There she is on the back. She donated these to the platform. She said, Dan, you take these books and you give them away, and hopefully you can make people watch your show with them. So, but she didn't say that, but in my mind, that's what she said. So, anyways, we've got all these names. Spin the wheel, my love. Who's it gonna be? Oh, it's Alicia. Alicia's on Facebook? Yes? All right. We've got a winner. We will be reaching out to you, Alicia. If you want to inbox us on the Hard Knox Talks Facebook page, but if we don't hear from you, we will try to reach you. You are getting all 3 of these books. I promise you, if you have kids, they will love them. And that's it for us tonight, my friends. We will see you Tuesday night, live and interactive, right here on Facebook and YouTube. Take care for now, my friends. Good night.